All right, guys. I know that I cannot be alone in thinking this. Sometimes it feels like working from home is way more challenging than if I were at my desk in the building, like I was so used to about 5 or 6 months ago. And if you think this way too, it's not an uncommon thought. So I spoke with someone who's going to help us avoid burnout while working from home. And then if you do kind of get to that level, what are some tips and some signs to look for?
Maybe at home you might have children there. Your house might be a little chaotic. It might be things in your environment, or you might have relatives that stay with you. So you don't really have that space to yourself. So, yes, it is an extremely stressful time. And on top of all that, racial tensions, political climates. Yeah, definitely a new normal for all of us.
Definitely. So when it comes to working from home, something that I have noticed is it's like, my goodness, why am I so exhausted when I literally go from the bed to my living room and that's it?
Yes, we might be at home, but that doesn't mean I start work at 7 and I jump up at 6:45, brush my teeth, wash my face, and I get on the Zoom. I think that a lot of times we just don't properly prepare in advance.
I'm guilty.
Also, so that's one reason. Another thing is create your workspace. So even if you don't have a designated room where you can just decorate all glamorous, put up a board or put up things that's going to remind you of your why. Why do you go to work? Why do you do what you do?
Something that you're kind of seeing with your clients that you work with that they are kind of getting burned out right now?
Yeah. On this season, you have to get very clear about your top 3 priorities. So some might say your priorities, or you can say 3 hats. So you should not focus on more than 3 things at a time. So if there are things in your life that's taking your energy, so you will use this as an example, like this bottle of hand sanitizer, right? You have 100% every single day. Every day you only have 100. So every time you pour out, you're giving out energy. You're giving out energy. Sometimes you're giving out energy to things you can't control. Sometimes you're giving out energy to things you can't control. So focus on what you can control. There's things that we can do in our environments so we can make it better. So focus on 3 things and that's it. And I know you're like, but, there's no buts. Also learn to say no. Look at it like this. So say you're in an environment where it can be a crisis at times. You already have 3 tasks. Make sure in the morning, identify what's the 3 priorities for today. And if your manager says, hey, Ashley, can you do this? And you can say, oh, yeah, sure. Are you asking me to do this first? And then I can work on A, B, and C. But make sure you're clear with them to let them know, hey, I do have these current projects, but by all means, if you want me to do this other one first, make sure you state it and get clarification from them. And then naturally going to say, oh, yes, go ahead. But then also they're not expecting you to do the other 3 that you were already assigned. So that's the one way to say no politely.
What are some signs that we need to be looking out for if you haven't reached that burnout point before you may be familiar with it? What should we look for?
Are you feeling extremely lethargic? Are you feeling like you're not motivated? You're feeling hopeless. You're feeling anxious. You're feeling like, something just isn't right. Like I don't feel like my normal self. Those are some signs that you're starting to get burnt out. And sometimes our bodies just completely shut down. We might actually get sick. And that's why in those top 3 priorities, you need to be one of those and you have 2 more. That's it. Total of 3.